Welcome to the Stroke Experience podcast. My name is Marty Martin, and I'm a stroke survivor. Welcome to the Stroke Experience. I'm Marty Martin, and this is episode 2, continuing from episode 1, which was only 6 minutes, a little bit short. And I forgot to cover a lot in that episode about that first week. So I'm going to continue here. First week in ICU until we get over to the rehab hospital. And then with that, we'll continue on. And I'll apologize now if you notice my speech sometimes gets a little slurry, or if you can't understand what I'm saying, I apologize. But anyway, let's continue on here. If you've had the stroke, you already know about you know what happened. So that's the thing. Sometimes and the family knows what happened. They don't know what the actual experience is of what's happening when the stroke. And everybody who has a stroke has it in different ways, different places. A lot of us, we're awake, we're aware what's going on, we know something's happening. And some people, I met some people when I was in outpatient therapy who, they just woke up in a hospital room. They have no recollection of anything happening. One of the guys I got to know there, he was driving down the highway, and that was the last thing he remembered. He woke up in the hospital, and it was days later. I mean, he was out for a few days. So it affects everybody. Has a little different but the same. So anyway, there we are with that. My particular experience, I was in the bathroom finishing up drying my hands, and I turned around towards the sink, and my leg gave out, buckled, and I didn't think anything of it at first. I threw my hands down on the sink, and I said, "Oh wow, what's going on here?" And then I noticed then I tried to take a step again, and again the leg wasn't working, and then suddenly my left arm wasn't working either. So I wasn't experiencing any lightheadedness or anything like that. I was like, "Hey, what's going on?" So I grabbed onto the door frame and hopped a couple hops to the office, the bedroom, a small bedroom. I have my office right next there, and made a couple hobbles. Got into the desk chair, or flopped down. As in the book, I say I flopped down in the desk chair, and it's like, okay, something's going on, and so there we go. It's been about a minute probably. I reached for the phone, dropped it on the floor, and of course, okay, so I'm trying to get the phone. My left arm is just hanging, and so I move my hand. I'm trying to get the phone, and it's right about then I know something serious going on. I am getting the lightheaded feeling and so forth, and this is where the part of my book title, "The Minute with God," kind of starts. It's like, oh, dear God, not what's going on, and not now. Like, so a lot of people get a lot of these different things going through their head if they think they're gonna die or something, and so that was going on too. So anyway, I'm trying to reach for the phone. I have my little conversation with God, and then all of a sudden I got to feel something on my hand, licking on me. So it's a little 9-month old, blue eyed, gray haired, Boston Terrier. So that kind of helped keep my attention going. I was also telling myself to stay awake, stay awake, don't, because you get that sensation of, wanting to pass out or fall asleep. And I was like, no, stay awake. And so anyway, eventually got the phone, called my wife, and now I had a dumb moment later. Is like, I could have just yelled out because she's right across the hallway, and she's already in bed. Here's like 10:30 at night, and so I finally call her, and she answered. The first thing was, "Hey, what's wrong?" You know, and she instinctively, I guess, knew something was wrong, just like the puppy. Um, you know, People say dogs have certain instincts, and knew something was wrong. But anyway, heard the door. I heard the door open, and when I called her, I heard her phone thing for me was the quack, 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 quack. So anyway, she answered the phone. She knew something was up. She opened the door, and she didn't say nothing else. I heard her on the phone with the 911 operator. So, um, and then about 2 minutes later, And I'm not really exaggerating because I called later on after I was out of the hospital. I went and checked with when I was doing the book. I checked with the Creve Coeur, Missouri fire department to find out what their response time was, and their response time was 4 minutes. It was actually 3 minutes 58 seconds and whatever it was. So it was 4 minutes to get to me, which I thought was unbelievable. But it also has to do with where we live. We're a couple blocks from the fire department, so that kind of worked out in my favor. So anyway, so now and then of course the two medic people were talking, one talking to my wife, one talking to me. So I was still kind of aware, but at the same time I wasn't. Then I felt sensation being picked up by four. There was more voices, and so onto the hospital. So anyway, so went to the hospital. My wife followed, of course, and then later, next thing I remember, I remember being removed from the ambulance, seeing the lights in the hallway and the brisk air, the March air, and all that. So, but then next thing I remember, so I did pass out. So next thing I remember is hearing my wife's voice talking to a doctor, and so I yelled out, "Mummy!" Like I said, like a zombie, "Mummy!" So that was the first time she seen me, and that kind of startled her a little bit because I had all these IVs and everything in me. So, but anyway, so that was, so I don't not really remembering much. So. But by the next morning, and so that's where, where you probably, if you're in the next morning or depending on what happened, okay, you're awake now, you kind of know, okay, you've had a stroke and that's what's going on. And the doctor is talking, the nurse is telling you what's going on. And so you're going from there. And so the thing about what I wrote in the book is, okay, what's next? Okay, so you've had a stroke. Now what? What's going to happen? And, one of the things I'm gonna tell you right up front is if you haven't bought my book yet, or the audiobook, um, that's one of the first things to do. Like I said, if I had had something that said, "Okay, what's gonna happen next?" I would have liked it, I could listen to an audio or something, and, "Okay, what's gonna happen next?" And so that's a ridiculous task to ask somebody to read a book. "You've had a stroke, hey, read the book," or listen to audio is probably easier, but reading is might be difficult because you might have vision problems. So the one thing for me is, and I think for everybody, if you had a stroke, is attitude. Okay, it's happened. It's devastating. Life as we know it's changed. That's the short version there. Things have changed for you, but you got to keep a positive attitude. You got to take a positive attitude and drive forward, and see what the doctors are telling you about recovery. So you're at ACO. So in my case, in the ICU, and doctors talking about stroke, and one of the things, so my status right before the stroke was, okay, I was overweight, so I'm an ex karate guy, army guy, and then some switch when I retired from the army after 21 years, some switch flipped and I stopped. And that is a phenomenon with a lot of people. For some reason, when people get into their 40s or 50s, they stop. And by stop, I mean they stop their physical activity to gain weight, get diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, all these things, which contribute to strokes. But at the same time, perfectly healthy people get strokes. So there is no, but a higher percentage of people with the diabetes and high blood pressure, cholesterol do get strokes. That's one of those medical things out there. But so regardless of that, it's still, so you've had a stroke. Now what's next? What are you going to do next about it? And so, okay, there you are. You're laying in a hospital bed, one side paralyzed. That's the other. So that's the first adjustment. The first reality is, hey, you can't feel your left. In my case, left. Most is left, but even if some are right, but I would just keep saying the left all the time in these podcasts here. But so left side, arm, leg, nothing there. Even the left side, I didn't notice till few weeks later that, oh, it's not just the arm and leg, it's the left side. So down underneath your arm along your left side, the sensation, touch sensation's gone. The control to be able to move. I can move now a little bit, but at the initially, so you don't have an awareness of where your leg and arm is. You can't move them. If you're not paying attention, you'll find that your arm is hanging down off the side of the bed. But the nurses, they don't let that happen because they prop you up with pillows and things like that. So that's one of the first adjustments. The other one might be your speech. Your speech might be impaired a little. Some are worse than others. Mine wasn't so bad, but even now I do kind of slur a little sometimes. So if you hear me rambling, that's just I just say it's a side effect. It's not my normal. Maybe it is. I don't know. But anyway, but that's one of the side effects or the things with the stroke is you have the paralysis. So with the paralysis, all of a sudden now, there's adjustments. There's all these adjustments you have to get used to. And one of them, of course, is the bathroom. So I say you need to use the bathroom. You got to go in. You got to get a nurse or a nurse's aide or somebody's going to help you, or a family member or whatever the case is. So that's the first adjustment. Um, but so that's one, and then medications. So in my case, in your case, if you happen to be diabetic, you're gonna have all these I had a half dozen medications that the only thing I was on before the stroke was metformin for diabetes. That was it. And now all of a sudden there's half a dozen things going on. So instead of the metformin for the diabetes, they're giving me insulin shots. They're also giving me a shot for a blood thinner shot, I guess it was. Then they're giving me these other things too, things for the high blood pressure and what there was a bunch of them. So that was all brand new. And so as the docs explained in the ER, in the ICUs, they're stabilizing, get me stable to where I can go to the next step, which would be a rehab hospital. So that would be the next step. Meanwhile, I ended up being in the ICU for 7 days. So not everybody stays in ICU 7 days. It depends on the severity. I think in my case, I kind of had a more severe stroke. We hear news and stuff sometimes about people having mini strokes and a mild stroke, but mine was moderate or severe because so I ended up being in the ER, the ICU for that week, rehab hospital for 3 weeks, and then I spent 10 months in outpatient therapy. So mine was pretty, I guess, pretty up there on the scale. So anyway, so as far as adjustments go, okay, so they're going to try and work on stabilizing you. And the game plan was get you stabilized and then move to the rehab hospital. But meanwhile, you got these little adjustments that are going to happen, like in an ICU. The bathroom. Um, if they are able to get you into a wheelchair, okay. But like I think no wheelchair for me yet. So I was in the bed the whole time. So any bathroom breaks, you're gonna have to do. They'll help you with that. Things like dehydration. I was drinking water all the time, and I guess a side effect or whatever. But which means I had to take a bathroom break every 2 hours. I was a clockwork or throughout the night even. Nurses would come in, or I'd have to call for somebody. Having awareness of where your call button is because you're stuck. You're in the bed. You can't move. Some people will try to move, and you hear the stories in ICU and then in rehab hospital. You hear stories. Oh, so and so down the hall fell off his bed last night because he tried to get out. You can't get out because you can't move. So, unfortunately, that's one of the things. So you got the paralysis, you got the dehydration, your call button, your speech, if vision, if you're okay, chewing. So, they're in the ICU, they bring the meals to you. Some people have chewing problems, your left side, so in my case, the left side, and you notice that your left side's kind of numb or, so I was fortunate because the feeling came back. I mean, I'm still, um, I can feel, I can't, I explain this touch sensation. Like, when you rub your fingertips together, touch sensation. But when you lack that sensation, like in the left side, what you can feel is the pressure sensation. So you'll feel somebody tapping you, but you can't feel the touching. You can't feel the touch, but you can feel the tap. That's good way. That's how I explain it. But on the chewing thing, you have you might have a problem with chewing. So that's one of the things you have to get used to. The vision, chewing, like pillows. Even when you go home, they're going to tell you to have pillows under your arm and under your feet for circulation and to make sure your arm don't fall off the bed and hang it. Same thing when you do get in a wheelchair, awareness. It's the wheelchairs come with the armrest, so you put your arm on the armrest, and making sure you're aware. I remember one time looking over and my arm wasn't there; it was dangling down. So you gotta be, have a create awareness. So that's one of the things you gotta get used to is an awareness of where your leg and your arm is and your hand. And that'll come pretty quickly, but you just gotta remember to start thinking about those type of things. The other thing, I mean, um, while you're in the ICU, you won't get it, but once you get over to rehab hospital, or once you get moving, if they do move you around the ICU, they're probably gonna put what they call it's a gate belt on you. It's this white belt they put around your waist. So someone's got a hold of you every time you move. So that may or may not happen in the ICU, depending on your situation. But in my case, it didn't happen in the ICU not until I got out of the ICU to go over to rehab hospital. So those are the adjustments. Mostly, your wires might be crossed a little bit. I say wires, but your emotions and stuff. So there are the emotions to deal with too. But again, I emphasize positive attitude. I just, you got to keep a positive attitude. You're gonna be sleeping a lot, probably. You're gonna feel tired and sleeping. Eating, you may or not eat a lot as far as the meals go. I mean, for me, I, I was on a new diet all of a sudden. I wasn't on a pack of Oreos every day. I was on that what they were giving me. So um, that was kind of a forced diet, but at the same time, it was a healthy diet. So one of the things I noticed right away is that, I was drinking water. I didn't really want any soda. I used to be drink 2 or 3 Pepsis a day, and but even now I don't. Um, gave the soda up. I might have one once in a while for carbonation, but otherwise, so there's adjustments going on in your diet too. So again, if you're diabetic, there's gonna be a lot of adjustments. If you're not diabetic, it'll be just a regular diet. So it just depends on your situation. So So anyway, so next step was okay. The doc came and said, "Okay, we're gonna get you out of here, and then the next day or two, we're gonna send you to rehab hospital. That'll be a couple of 3 weeks, and they're gonna work on recovery and rehabilitation." We said, "Okay." Me and my wife, we said, "Okay." A nurse from the hospital came over, talked to us, tell us what the game plan was to get over there. I said, "Okay." So the plan was to move me over there on Sunday, and that ended up not happening because of a simple thing of a bowel movement. All these news meds and everything they're giving you and not eating as much. Anyway, things happen or don't happen. So eventually, it was actually Monday evening when they got me over there. So got over to rehab Monday evening, and so that's pretty much the first week. And yeah, that's first week. I'll leave it there. In the next episode, I will talk about moving over to the rehab hospital and getting adjusted there. Because I was there for 3 weeks, and so there's a lot more adjustments in store for us. So, with that, in the comments or in the descriptions, there's links to some different, books or whatever, but also resources and products I've used, during rehab, like the bicycle I got and everything. So, there's things like that. And with that, I'm gonna leave. Beautiful harp music. So, there you go.